everyone. Welcome to the webinar. We're here with our very special return guests, Josh Metal and Tim Braheem, and we have myself and Dan Habib here. And Tim's going to talk to us all about mindset today. You're going to be in for a real treat. He always brings so much value. Josh brings so much value when the guys join us here. So feel free to ask any questions you have in the chat box and Q&A box. We'll be watching that, and then we'll stay at the end for any questions you have. But Tim, Josh, thank you guys so much for joining us. And Dan, thanks for being here too.
Yeah, guys, we are so excited to have you. You guys are always fan favorites, and I love the topic that you're talking about. I know it's something that Barry believes very much so in as well. Mindset is critical, and you need to make sure you're in the mindset so you can be the best that you can be in really all aspects of life. So, guys, we're really excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having us. Believe me, I will be bringing up Barry during this call today. He's such a terrific avatar for what we want to talk about. And I want to just say thank you to all of you for being here. Today, for those of you, first of all, we have a lot of Loan Atlas members on the call, and I want to welcome all of them. And I want to say, stay tuned. We have another surprise for you. We're working really hard behind the scenes, and we have a really special gift for you that Josh will talk about when I'm done presenting. Now, most of you that really know me, like Dan or Josh, who are clients in my Leadership 360 program, know that the topic of mindset and energy is, in my mind, one of the most important topics that I can ever talk with you about. It is one of my favorite topics, if not my very favorite topic. And today's call is intended to really open up your consciousness and to really get you to think about some things. They're going to drive not only your business success, but your success in your life. This topic is ubiquitous. It touches all aspects of life.
Hey, Tim, we have a few people in the, I'm sorry to interrupt you, a few people in the chat saying volume a little bit louder for Tim.
Okay. How about now? Is it better now?
It does sound louder, yep.
Okay. I'll try not to get excited so I don't get hot. Diane, okay, like we talked about in the pregame. I'll try to stay mellow. Okay, so today's topic is one of the most important topics I can talk with you about ever. It touches every aspect of your life. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here for just a moment. Guys can see it? Is that accurate, Josh?
Good to go. We got you. Perfect.
Great. So, folks, we're going to talk today about above and below the line, which is a model that I'm going to teach to you. It is a model that I teach in depth in my Leadership 360 coaching program. Everybody that is in the Leadership 360 family knows the terminology above and below the line. We march to the beat of that drum as a community, as a family of clients, and it is so powerful. And today we're going to talk about managing your thoughts and your energy. Now, as I go to the next slide, the first thing that I want to say is that there are very few things, as I mentioned before, that I can talk with you about that are more important than this particular subject matter. The reality of it is that each and every one of us gets triggered numerous times throughout the day. We get pissed off, we get upset, we get stressed out, we get worried, especially in this reactionary business that we're all in, that is the mortgage business. You have loan files that blow up, you have things that happen to your kid's report card at school, you have a stressful situation with your spouse, with a team member, with a referral partner, with a client. I mean, it happens all day long. And the question is, how are you responding to stressors? How are you responding to triggers that happen in your life? And the reality of it is that most of us have never been taught any kind of a model as to how to handle difficult sets of circumstances. Now, I can make a strong case, and I intend to do so in this presentation over the next 35 to 40 minutes, that there is nothing more important than how you manage your thoughts that take place between these ears, and subsequently how you manage your energy. Because it has everything to do with how you show up in your life, has everything to do with how you vibrate and whether people are drawn or repelled by you, and has everything to do with your success and your experience of life. So when we go back to the slide, I want to build a model for you. And this is going to be a model of understanding that I hope that each and every one of you are able to take from today's call and start to apply in your life. I'm giving you a formula here that's very important. So I would really recommend that you turn everything off, that you get really focused with me over the next 35 to 40 minutes. I have something very, very important to teach you here. So statistics show that we have somewhere between 60 and 80,000 thoughts a day. You can look it up. That's backed by psychology. Every single day we have somewhere around 60 to 80,000 thoughts that enter our consciousness. And 90% plus of those thoughts we had yesterday, the day before, and the day before that, we are literally caught in a repetitive thought loop. We have habits that we have formed based upon our fears, our worries, our concerns, and us looking into the future to try to forecast any problematic circumstances. And we respond to things like, mortgage-backed securities not performing in the way we want them to perform, or a referral partner not, giving us their loyalty, or whatever the circumstances are. And how we respond to that has everything to do with our success in our business and our life. So when we go back to the deck, let me build this model for you. So you have I'm going to repeat a few things here because I really want this to sink in. You have between 60 and 80,000 thoughts a day. 90% of those thoughts you had yesterday, the day before, etc. Okay, so here's how it works. Thoughts create emotions. You have 60 to 80,000 of them a day, and they create emotions, different emotions, depending upon the thought. Those emotions create chemicals in your body. Those chemicals affect the way that you feel and the way that you respond to circumstance. So, down in the center of your head, every single one of us that's on this call, down in the center of our head is the master gland of the body. It's called the pituitary gland. And the reason that they refer to the pituitary gland as the master gland of the body is because it is quite literally the chemical pharmacy that exists within all of us. This is very important for you to understand this, because where I'm going to lead you to is having an understanding as to why you respond to circumstances in the way that you respond. It's very human. So down in the center of the head is the pituitary gland. When we have a thought, that thought creates an emotion. When we have an emotion, the emotion signals the pituitary gland, which sets off a cascade of chemicals that flood our body. And these chemicals differ based upon the thought and the subsequent emotion. We are quite literally all day long, every one of us, living under the influence of drugs. All of us. It's not an overstatement. That's exactly what's happening, depending upon the circumstances that we experience, the thoughts and the subsequent emotions, and the chemicals. So, as an example, let me give you a couple of examples, okay? If I came running at you right now with a large blade in my hand, a knife, and anger in my eyes, what would happen? The first thing that would happen is you'd have a thought. And that thought would happen very quickly, and it would sound something like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. That thought would generate a subsequent emotion, the emotion of fear. The pituitary gland would be signaled and would cascade certain chemicals into your body, like adrenaline, which would allow you to run fast or fight strong. Cortisol, which would cause your focus to become very narrowed. We wouldn't want you thinking about your loan pipeline or your kid's dance recital or anything like that if I'm coming at you with a blade in my hand. So it's a good thing that we would have our focus become very narrowed. I'm going to get to that as it relates to business in a minute. I'm going to tie all of this into business. So adrenaline, cortisol, serotonin, which would cause us to become very alert. We wouldn't want to be sleepy in that moment. Endopinephrine, norepinephrine, to name a few others. These are the fight or flight drugs that happen to us when we experience fear. Now, conversely, if we were all in a room together and I brought a little baby out in front of us in a diaper and I put the baby on the floor and I said, let's just watch. And that little baby crawled over to a chair and made herself up on the leg of the chair and stood and wobbled around a little bit and then took its first steps. We would have a very different thought. The thought of, gosh, that's beautiful, which would trigger subsequent emotions, the emotion of connection, the emotion of love, the emotion of compassion, which would signal the pituitary gland, which would then kick off a cascade of very different drugs into our body, such as dopamine, which would cause our heart arteries to swell. Oxytocin, the love drug, that would make us feel deep connection, admiration for the bravery that we're witnessing in front of us. And we would feel very close to that infant that just walked for the first time in front of us. But here's the deal. All day long, you're having thoughts, subsequent emotions, and are operating under the subsequent chemicals that are associated with those thoughts and emotions. Okay, remember what I said. We're going to tie this into business in a minute. So, thoughts create emotions. Emotions create chemicals in the body. Chemicals affect the way that we feel and we respond. Now, here's the next thing I want to make sure that everybody understands. It is scientifically proven, and it can be measured, that each and every one of us has an energetic electromagnetic field around our body. All of us. Maybe you've heard of equine therapy before. Equine therapy is when you go work with horses in a therapeutic sense. And it's a very powerful modality of therapy. And the reason that it's so powerful is because horses have a 7 to 10 foot electromagnetic field around their body. So when you are in the sphere of the electromagnetic field of another being, whether it be a horse or a human being, you are picking up on their energy field. So we are constantly emitting energy, all of us, every day, all day long. So those thoughts and those emotions equal the field that is emitted around us. Now, let's go to the slide deck. And I want to read you a couple of very important quotes. The first is from an author who goes under the pen name Young Pueblo. Could we get a mute on the person whose background is loud, please? Thank you. The author whose pen name is Young Pueblo. You may want to write this book down. It's called Inward, I-N-W-A-R-D. It is a terrific book for you to read as a part of your morning routine. Here's a quote from Young Pueblo. Life is difficult and full of unexpected challenges. Boy, is it ever. Even so, you have to ask yourself, how much stress and mental tension are you unnecessarily causing yourself by creating assumptions and replaying fears in your mind? Let's read that again. How much stress and mental tension are you unnecessarily causing yourself by creating assumptions and replaying fears in your mind? How often are you refusing to let go and adapt when things change, when you deal with stressors in your life? How much of your inner turmoil is self-imposed based upon the thoughts that you hold on to? Next, Gary Zukav, brilliant author, wrote a land-breaking book in the 1980s called The Seat of the Soul. Gary Zukav said the following: by choosing your thoughts and by selecting which emotional currents you will release and which you will reinforce, you determine the quality of your light. The quality of your light is that electromagnetic field that I just described. You determine the effects that you will have upon others and the nature of the experiences of your life, again, based upon your thoughts and your subsequent emotions. Okay, now, there are two states of being that I want to get into in a moment, but I want to create an image here for you. And I want everybody to play along with me. If you're driving in your car, try to pull over. I'm going to ask you, if you can, to close your eyes. Okay? If you can take a moment to do that with me, I think this will be even more powerful if you can. And I want you to think of someone for a moment in your life. The first person that comes to mind is perfect. I want you to think of someone who fits into the following category. They are at the effect of their outside environment, whether it be people or circumstance. They are consistently complaining. They are steeped in righteousness. They're very argumentative all the time. They're very invested in being right. They're a victim. Whoever came to your mind, my question to you is this: what's it like when you're around that person? Is it an enjoyable experience? Does time go by slow or fast? Are you drawn to them? Or does it feel heavy? And you just don't know what it is, but you want to get away from them. Now, I want to paint a picture of a second person. If you can close your eyes for this one, go for it. The person that I want you to think of, first person that comes to mind, is very self-empowered. They're very self-aware. They're by and large in a good mood most of the time. They're curious. They're invested in their learning and growth. They really care about another person's point of view and look to find the learning in contrary points of view. And again, they're by and large in a good mood most of the time. Now, what is your experience like? You can open your eyes if they're closed. What is your experience like when you're with that person? Are you drawn to them, or are you repelled by them? Do you want the engagement to end, or do you want it to continue for an extended period of time? So here's the really important question. Which one of those two people would be a more successful loan originator? The person who's a victim or the person who's self-empowered and self-aware? Which one of those two would be a happier parent and have a deeper relationship with their children? Which one of those two would have more formidable relationships with referral partners and their clients, and a better relationship with their spouse and more friends in their life? Now, what you're experiencing, whether you realize it or not, when you're engaged with these two different types of people, is that electromagnetic field. Based upon that person's thoughts, emotions, and chemicals that they're under the influence of. And the subsequent vibration of their frequency dictates whether you're drawn to them or you're repelled by them. It doesn't feel good to be in the electromagnetic field of somebody who's stressed out. So I want you to be thinking about how important this is. This is why this is one of the most important topics we could ever talk about, and why I'm so passionate about teaching it. Because if we can learn to control these thoughts and our subsequent emotions and chemicals that we're operating under, not only do other people experience us in a more favorable way, but our experience of life is much better. Okay, now we're going to get into the model. So there are two states of being. The first state of being is I make life happen. Life happens by me. It's an empowered state of being. It's taking personal responsibility for our experience. It's about being curious and being open to learning. The second state of being is life happens to me. I'm at the effect of. It's very disempowered. I'm at the effect of other people. I'm at the effect of my environment. It doesn't result in you taking dominion and responsibility for your own circumstance. So here's a question for you. It's a loaded question. But boy, do we have a perfect avatar. Let's talk about Barry Habib for a minute. Last couple of years, that's a man who has had every right to be a victim. He's had every right to feel sorry for himself. He's had every right to complain. But I'll tell you, I've probably talked to that guy 100 times in the last 2 years. And he refuses to be a victim. He's been positive every single day I talk to him. He lives in gratitude. He's taken responsibility for his own experience, and he's looking to learn and grow and become a better human being and help more people. I introduced him a couple weeks ago to a client of mine whose wife, unfortunately, is in the hospital with cancer. He immediately took my client's phone call and helped him. He gave back. Boy, is he a tremendous inspiration to all of us, of somebody who has decided, I am going to take charge of what's happening between my ears. I'm not going to fall prey to the victim consciousness. Even in those days when he was having chemotherapy treatment, he was exhausted, he was nauseous and all of this, he still showed up with positive energy for all of us to teach us. And he is a great model for us to take a look at. Okay, let's go back to the deck. So, the hallmarks of these two states of being. When life is happening by us, we are calm and we're present. We are curious. And I think curious is one of the most important virtues that any of us can ever embrace. We are curious. We are creative. We're looking for creative solutions. We're engaged in the experience. We're not detached from it. We're open to possibilities. What's this other person's point of view meant to teach me here? What am I not seeing that maybe I could learn from them, even though I don't have an agreement with them on politics, religion, or whatever the circumstance is, a way of doing business together, etc. And we are most importantly in a learning state of consciousness when we are taking personal responsibility from our experience. We're looking to learn and grow. Now, when we are in the opposite state of consciousness, that person that's a victim, we're in drama. We're oftentimes invested in our past. Life is happening to me. We're very invested in being right. We're closed to other people's points of view. We're defensive. We're at the effect of others. We're giving up our power to others. They're controlling us. And we're reacting in most sets of circumstances. Now, we call these two states of being above and below the line. So that's a vernacular that I want to teach you. This is the model that I want to teach you. So one of them is a high learning state of consciousness, when we are above the line, And when we're below the line, it's a low learning state of consciousness. Now, when we're below the line, we are separate. I want you to think of a time when you were at the effect of, you were in an argumentative state with someone you didn't disagree with, or you didn't agree with them. Did you feel connected or did you feel separate? No, you felt separate. You felt alone. Anytime that I believe that I am separate from someone else, I become deeply committed to the survival of myself. And that's why we go into righteousness, because we have to try, our egos have to try to win the debate. As human beings, we're hardwired for survival. And from that place of wanting to survive, I'm not open to collaborating or co-creating. We see the world and the others in that world as being against us. So when you're in an argument with someone, you're in a disagreement with a coworker, a spouse, a friend, etc., you see them as being against you. You feel very disconnected. Therefore, you get invested in your survival, which relates to you being righteous. Cortisol causes our focus to become very narrowed and fixated on one thing, survival. And I want to get to that in a moment. I'm going to paint a picture as it relates to loans in a second. But when I'm below the line, my experience is one of separateness. I'm in this alone. I perceive others as potentially being against me. So let's paint a picture here for a minute. Almost willing to bet that every single person on this call has had this happen before. You go into the office for the day and you have a game plan. You have your intentions, right? You're going to work on your marketing strategy. You're going to call past clients. You're going to call your leads, etc. And something bad happens, okay? A deal gets declined or an appraisal gets cut. And you go into fear mode, into stress mode, okay? You have a thought. That thought is, this is a problem and I might lose that client. I might lose that $4,000 check and I might lose that referral partner, okay? That creates an emotion. The emotion is that of fear. That triggers the pituitary gland, kicks off those fight or flight drugs. Cortisol being one of those fight or flight drugs, which causes your focus to become very narrowed. How many times have you had this before? That circumstance happens and no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, you can't stop thinking about it. You can't just let it go and go work on the things that you decided you needed to work on for that day. So what I'm here to share with you, and what I want to make sure you understand, is it's normal. It's human. You're operating under drugs, literally. I want you to understand what's happening, because until you understand what's happening, you can't work on it. So you're under the fight or flight drugs of survival, of wanting to save that one deal, and everything else aborts. And you go home and you're with your family and you can't be with them because you're still thinking about that deal, because you are operating under cortisol, adrenaline, endorphinephrine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. Okay? So that's what's happening. There's nothing wrong with you, and it happens numerous times throughout the day for some of us, especially in the years of 2023 and 2024, when the bond market was not performing well, your stock portfolio wasn't performing well, you weren't doing a lot of loans, you were watching your bank account shrink, and you wonder why you weren't as productive as you would have liked to have been. You were operating under the hormones of stress. But the black belt work is to know how to get yourself out of that. So, next. When we go through difficult times, we try to control. So I want to create another quick little model here for you to make sure you understand. It's so important. Whenever you're trying to control a circumstance, 100% of the time, underneath control is fear. Without fear, there would be no need to control. The antithesis of fear and control is trust and surrender. So when you're going through a tough circumstance, the black belt work is to not try to, well, first to acknowledge the fear and realize that it will be okay, and I'll get to that in a few minutes, and move into a state of trust and surrender, which is not easy to do, and I'm not professing that it's easy to do. I go through this every day myself. For God's sakes, not more than, I think it was Friday, Josh and I had a voice text exchange where he kind of dropped below the line a little bit. And I felt compassion for him because I knew where he was. I've been there a million times myself. And I just held for him, and he found himself very quickly. And he sent me a voice text back and apologized to me. And I was like, it's all good, bro. Don't beat yourself up. You know, that's human. And we're going to get to why that happens and why it's normal in a second, because it's about survival. So when we are above the line, we are present with how we feel. We are curious with how we feel. We are looking for the growth and learning in the circumstance. We move into trust and surrender. When we're below the line, we're steeped in drama, we're defensive, and we look at things through the lens of scarcity. So here's the challenge, and this is the part that I want you to hear most loud and clear. Our evolutionary hardwiring is not set up to keep us above the line. We are wired for survival. At any moment during the day, we are scanning our environment for threat. All of us, every day. When we see threat, we go below the line to protect ourselves. So all day long, we're looking to protect ourselves. We're scanning the environment for threat. When we see threat, the frown on somebody's face, the stock market not performing well, a deal being lost, we will go below the line to try to protect ourselves because we want to survive. Our brain chemistry can't tell the difference between that knife that I was coming at you with and the frown on a client's face. Threat is threat. Fear is fear. It's all relative, and it doesn't matter what the threat or the fear is. It just matters that you have that thought, the subsequent emotion, and the cascade of chemicals. So we experience someone in a meeting who has a different point of view that threatens the survival of our ego. We go below the line. So here's the thing. It's all about chemistry and it's all about evolution. So let's go way back. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to Cro-Magnon man and woman. This is what life was like. Expectancy of life is 20 to 25 years. We lived in caves. We would go out of the cave to forage for berries or to find food of some kind. We'd turn the corner and a saber-toothed tiger would be waiting there and we'd be gone. What ended up having to happen was that our brains needed to evolve and develop the cognitive ability to think into the future, because at that time we did not have that cognitive ability. We did not have what is called the prefrontal cortex. Cortex in your brain is what allows you to scan the landscape for threat. It's what you use when you go to cross the street. You look both ways, don't you? Because you think about the potential threat. But back then, way back then, we didn't have that ability and our life expectancy was very short and something needed to happen or else we would have been extinct as a species. So we brilliantly evolved our brain chemistry to be able to think into the future. This is what allows us to strategically plan in our business. This is what allows us to plan our vacation, to think into the future. Now, it can be a hindrance, right, when it comes to presence. It's what makes things awfully difficult for us when we want to just be with someone in their presence for an extended period of time. Our mind keeps going all the time. This is where meditation could be very powerful, teaching you how to settle your mind into the present moment, how to slow that prefrontal cortex down. When you have that triggering event, that crisis circumstance, the work is to be able to find yourself in that moment, to slow it down, to come into presence, to assess the truth of the danger and whether or not I really need to be fixated on this or not. And this is not easy. I'm not saying it's easy, and it's my life's work and it's your life's work too. Okay, back to the deck. So I want to just make sure that I reemphasize there's nothing wrong with you that your mind is always active. There's nothing wrong with you that you get triggered. There's nothing wrong with you that you drop below the line. I drop below the line all the time. We all do. Because we are wired for fear and we are wired for survival. So, the solution, how to rise up. So, these are some of the black belt moves that we want to start to embody, and we're going to give you the slide deck for this presentation so you don't have to write all of these down. The first is to get curious. What's really happening here? Is this referral partner really going to tell me they never want to work with me again? Or can I be open to the possibility that I need to just have an honest conversation and explain the circumstances with them, which is the second bullet, being open to possibility. What other possibilities are there here than the one that is the most catastrophic that we tend to migrate to out of our fear? Move around. Abraham Lincoln once said that it is very infrequent that when he is upset about something, and he goes for a walk for 30 minutes or more, that he comes back from that walk as upset as he was when he left. What Abraham Lincoln was saying was that he needed to extinguish the energy. Remember, you're vibrating, okay? You have all this energy inside of you based upon those thoughts and emotions. This is why when you go work out, sometimes you feel a lot of release, right? When you go sweat and you go crush it hard on a treadmill or something like that, because you expel energy. You release the fear and the worry. So moving around, going for a walk when you're in a stressful circumstance is a very important technique and strategy to use. So get curious, be open to possibility, move around, breathe. Finding the breath. This is something that I've been practicing as a part of my New Year's resolution that I started here a few weeks ago, is that when I find myself in a stressful situation, the first thing I remind myself to do as quickly as I can is find your breath, come into presence, take a couple of deep cleansing breaths. Okay, and then what I do is I've been reciting this little mantra inwardly to myself, which is, everything's going to be okay, Tim. You're okay. Everything's going to be okay. In those moments when I get overwhelmed, that's how I settle myself. I find my breath and I remind myself, you're going to be okay. Speak unarguably. When you're in a conflict with somebody, really try to slow it down and get curious as to what their point of view is rather than being confrontational and righteous in your approach. Next, appreciate the opportunity to learn. This circumstance has something to teach me every time. Even when your stock portfolio dropped and maybe you weren't as financially prepared in 2023 for the market turn and the severe turn that it took, it's still your teacher. It's your teacher right now as to how you're going to better stabilize your passive income streams, how you're going to make sure you don't live beyond your means, etc. We can either look at it through the lens of that sucked, or we can look at it through the lens of, oh, wow. What was that here to teach me? That was here to teach me this is a cyclical business. And this is a circumstance that I won't make that same mistake again. And Josh has some amazing stories about that from his past, from when he went through the financial crisis and what he learned from that, from being curious about the possibilities. Take responsibility for your circumstance and your feelings and the emotions that you're feeling. Josh did a brilliant job of this the other day after he left me the voice text, and then he responded back. He took personal responsibility for what he was feeling. Welcome feedback. Share with me your point of view that I'm not seeing. Help me understand what it is that I might be missing here. Question your own beliefs. And then finally, recognize unconscious beliefs that are old and familiar. So being conscious in your life, team, is not about not going below the line. I want to read that again. I want to make sure you understand this. Being conscious in your life is not about not going below the line. You're going to go there. You're going to get stressed. You're going to get fear-based. It's about how long you stay there before you rise up. Again, back to the Josh example. I think he was there for about 20 minutes. And then he found himself and he left me another text and he apologized, and it was all good. It was never bad in the first place, but he saw where he was at and what anxiety he was experiencing. And he found himself and rose above the line very quickly. So that's the work, is shrinking the duration of time from the time that you're below the line until the time that you find yourself. Oh, wow, I see where I'm at here. Let me rise up. Let me use some of these techniques, move around, breathe, speak unarguably, get curious, and let me go above the line so I can vibrate at a different frequency. So pause and ask yourself, am I willing to shift? Am I willing to shift from below the line to above the line? It's a legitimate question. Am I open to learning and growing? And do I want harmony? So I want you to ask yourself, when you're really stuck in drama, the following questions. Would you rather be right than close to that person? It's a powerful question. Would you rather be right than collaborative or creative? Here's the big one. Would you rather be right than happy? I'll add a few more off the top of my head. Would I rather complain than find the learning in the situation? Would I rather solicit the support of others and talk behind someone's back, knowing that I'm vibrating at a low frequency? Would I rather complain about rates or my processor or my unloyal borrowers or realtors, knowing that when I do, I'm stuck in drama, I'm below the line, and that other people are picking up on my vibrational frequency? Remember, you're always vibrating all the time. Now look, here's the deal. This is the most important work you can ever do, this battle between your ears. But the tricky part is this. There's no one else that can do it for you. Only you. This is why it's such important work. And you know far too many people in your life that vibrate high and that have a very different experience of life as a result of it. And the way that other people experience them is pretty amazing as well. So our work is to become that person. All right. I'm going to wrap this up and turn it over to Josh because he's got something very special for you in a minute. I want to do a recap here, team. Above and below the line. So when you are above the line, some of the beliefs that you hold are, it's more valuable to learn and grow than it is to be right. It's more valuable to learn and grow than it is to be right. That's a powerful statement. Boy, it's so true. I see more than one possibility here. There's my point of view and maybe the other person's point of view. Let's kind of explore both together and see if there's a fusion of the two. Everything is a learning opportunity, no matter how severe it seems at the time, that emotional breakup with that partner that you have, or an argument with your child. Everything is a learning opportunity if we rise up above the line and get curious. It's valuable to question my thoughts and beliefs so I can learn and grow. The behaviors that we experience when we're above the line are that we get curious, we're open to possibility, we breathe, we speak unarguably, and we question our beliefs. And the statements that we make when we're above the line is, what can I learn from this? I wonder what the lesson is. Perhaps my favorite one. Is a curious phraseology, right? It's like, what am I missing here? What's the solution that I'm not seeing? And tell me more about your point of view. When we're below the line, when life is happening to us, when we're in drama, defensive, closed-minded, victim, and scarcity, when we're in fear, our beliefs are that being right is the most important thing, that I'm being threatened by someone else or my environment, that there's not enough room for a second opinion. I need to be in control of the things that I can't control. That's classic belief of being below the line. And there are only two options, mine and that other person's, and I've got to pick mine. The behaviors that we cling to when we're below the line is we cling to our opinion, we find fault and blame, we rationalize and justify. Here's a big one that I have to work on too, we gossip. So how many times have you gone to you go tell your story to a friend or a work colleague to get them to tell you that you're right? And we talk about somebody else. We're trying to crowdsource to support our position. Classic below the line behavior. And then we avoid conflict. You may find this one to be a little bit curious, avoiding conflict, so I want to speak to it for a minute. There are people on this call that are conflict avoidant. When a circumstance comes up, they just shrink up, they shut down. And maybe they even get passive aggressive, okay? That's classic below the line as well. Okay, when you get conflict avoidant, you're detaching. You're not connected with that person. You're not looking for the solution. So be careful with that one too, because some people don't really associate that with being below the line. And then finally, the statements that we make when we're below the line is, I should, I'm right, it's not my fault, you made me, they don't get it. So I want to make myself available to answer your questions about today's teaching. I'm going to spend a little extra time with you and do some coaching. This is at the heart, one of the key components of what we do in my Leadership 360 coaching program. We work in depth with my clients on this. So I'm very experienced for 15 years of working on this model, working on it within myself. It's a practice of mine all the time. So if you have questions, know that I'm going to be here to answer them for you. But what I want to do now is I want to turn it over to Josh because I want him to share a few things.
Thanks, Tim. Man, there's a lot of comments in the chat from people saying that they needed this today. So thank you. You know, I'm called to be a little more vulnerable than usual because of this teaching. And I'm just for context, I'm a high D. If you, those of you that are familiar with the DISC profile, I'm a 99 out of 100 D. Which is, and the D traits tend to be very domineering and prioritizing results over anything else. And what I learned about myself going through this training that Tim and the L360 team put me through was that I was ruining the relationships that were going to be so critical for me scaling my business if I continued to just let my dinosaur brain dictate the way that I showed up every single day. What I learned about taking a step back and being curious and reframing things changed everything for me. So I started this business in 2001. For the first 10 years, my team was a revolving door. And if you asked me at that time, why did that person leave? It was always about them. The story I was telling myself was it was always about them. And when I shifted with this above and below the line framework and I started to get curious, everything changed. Being a high D was great for me to get to a $100 million producer. Being a high D and acting the way that I kind of innately acted was horrible for me building a team. I went through processors, I went through production partners, my leadership above me hated me, I was a pain in their ass. And I just had this separate feeling, as you put it, Tim, that it was me against the world, and I just had to drive harder. And behind all of that was fear. 100%. It was fear, and it was the feeling of separation. So a couple of things that I did to change tactically was when, for example, let's say a closing didn't go well or an appraisal didn't get set out, or maybe an appraisal got set to a customer and a realtor at below the purchase price and nobody let me know. I'd usually go into that meeting and I would have already figured out all the things that the people that worked around me had done wrong. And I would go in and I would chastise those people for all those things, 100% below the line. And then when I started to get their perspective, I realized, well, there was a lot of things that I didn't understand about what went down there. And I started to change my approach. I started to go into those meetings, and the more hot I was, right, you get that vein that's just pumping through your forehead and your neck. I started to realize, boy, you better ask questions. You better not go into that meeting thinking you know it all with this vein popping out right here, or the person that you've just invested a year in is going to be gone. And just walking into those meetings in a curious, like, hey, guys, obviously we had a bad outcome. I probably don't understand the moving parts. Can you help me understand? I'm just curious and what we could have done different. And then by the time they tell me the sequence of events, 9 times out of 10, there was something that I didn't know. And I was just out of fear and my high D drive blowing up all of the people around me. Now, I'm very happy to tell you that over the last 15 years, I think that's really changed. I'm not perfect. I slip below the line. As Tim said, that's human. The secret, the evolution is, can we catch ourselves? And can we get back above the line as quickly as humanly possible? And can we come in with a more curious mindset? We had a pickleball celebration with my team just a couple of weeks ago to end the year. And we went around and we checked the average tenure of the people in the team. And there were 15 people in the pickleball group that we had together. And the average tenure of that team had been with us for almost 10 years. We had 143 years of teammates on the team through 15 people. So this above the and below the line framework, like, literally saved me. I would have been a high producer, constantly upset with myself, constantly in fear, constantly feeling separate, constantly going through team had I not learned that structure. So thanks for teaching it to me.
I just want to say one thing to that real quick, really important that you just said, okay? There is no escaping the knowing within yourself when you go below the line. And then the subsequent self-judgment that comes along with it.
It's the worst.
We all feel guilty when we act out poorly. But I'll tell you, When you catch yourself below the line, that's just exactly why I said to you in that text, don't beat yourself up, bro, because I love you. You're my friend. Like the last thing in the world, I felt compassion for you. I didn't take it personally. I realized you were below the line, and I was just like, he's just below the line right now. I'm not going to, this isn't about me. And I wanted to reinforce to you, like, hey, don't beat yourself up. It's okay. Because that is the trap, right? Like if we're constantly dropping below the line all the time, acting in a way that we don't really want to act, then we end up being riddled with self-judgment and self-criticism, okay, which gets us nowhere. But when you learn to shift and you go above the line and you make that shift, you actually have the opposite impact, right? You start to think, wow, good job, Tim. Like, great job, man. You were like down there below the line there for a few minutes and you found yourself and you shifted up and you feel good about yourself. It's an entirely different experience. So back over to you, Josh.
Yeah, thank you. So because this has been such an important framework for Tim and I, it's done so much in my business, especially my leadership ability. We've been really hard at work to create a tool. So it's like having Tim on the other end of a text thread. It's like having Tim behind your shoulder to coach you on how to stay above the line and manage your energy. And I'm super proud to announce the release. We'll be releasing this to the Lone Atlas community next week. This is a custom GPT that we call the Health, Mindset, and Vitality Master. And the goal is to create a performance coach designed to help you get out of any funk that you're finding yourself in and to help you have a reframe. Tim, I just kind of pulled over the GPT. Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, great. All right, so this is just a snapshot. And the first thing we wanted to do was make sure it had super high efficacy. And then, there's some aesthetics things and a lot of improvements that we're going to do on this, but it's ready to help people now. So I'll just give you a high level overview. The Health and Mindset Vitality Master is your performance coach designed specifically for high producing, growth oriented mortgage professionals, built on the teachings and tone of Tim Braheem. This GPT helps you optimize physical energy, sleep, training, recovery, nutrition, supplements. It's all in there. Build sustainable high performance without burnout. Maintain a steady positive mindset through rejection, volatility, long sales cycles. Reset emotionally and physically when the business gets heavy. Think of it as having a Tim-style coaching on demand whenever you need to recalibrate. And for everybody who's a Lone Atlas member, this is part of your membership. It'll be released next week. And we created some starter prompts that might be helpful. I feel off today. Help me reset. I'm tired and unmotivated. What should I do right now? I feel burned out. Help me recalibrate. I'm mentally fried. Help me improve my sleep starting tonight. All this GPT has been loaded with over 200 teaching modules. Every podcast that Tim has done on the 360 podcast has been loaded in here, as well as all of the white papers that Tim has written on topics like above and below the line and others. And then a lot of the framework that I've been teaching inside the Lone Atlas around health, longevity, energy. How do you bookend your days to have a 10 out of 10 energy every single day? All of those things have been loaded into the consciousness of this GPT. So just for an example, I just put in here, I bombed a realtor presentation yesterday. I'm feeling below the line. What do you suggest I focus on today to reset? And it says, being below the line isn't the problem. Staying there is. Today's not about fixing your worth or forcing confidence. It's about regaining steadiness and control. Quiet question. Write the answer. Don't think it. What did yesterday teach me? It's immediately reframing me into a place of curiosity, which is above the line. Step 2, move your body, clear the emotion. Gives me instructions for that. Win the first 90 minutes of the day. Reframe the event quietly. That presentation was data, not a verdict. How do I reframe yesterday's event into a learning day, into a learning situation, and then end today by noticing progress? So it'll take you from whatever you're struggling with from a mindset, energetic, health perspective and help you reframe that. We've been doing a ton of work on that inside the Atlas. I taught a master class recently on health mindset and setting yourself up for success in 2026, how I structure my day, all my supplements, how I time block, how I start in a creative, working on the business versus in the business. It's the way that I've been able to grow not only my personal production, but my team, and simultaneously run three other businesses at the same time because of the way that I set up those rituals. Tim taught the art of implementation. Many of you may have seen that. And this is all about daily routines that drive loan officer success. So in December, we did a lot of coaching on business planning for 2026. In January, it's all about personal development. How do you become the person that's worthy to attract success rather than just chase success? How do you become in greater attunement rather than just being focused and chase attainment? We've also been working inside the Loan Atlas on creating other custom GPTs for you that are loaded with all of the knowledge that Tim teaches throughout the Atlas. How do we make it easy? How do we make it easy for you to employ this knowledge? So we've been teaching AI for over a year inside the Atlas, called the AI Lab series. And we're very excited to launch the custom GPTs that I mentioned: health, mindset, and vitality. We have an AI content coach, which helps you find any script, anything you're having a problem with. You can instantly find that with the new GPT that we're launching. And then the AI sales and scripting coach, which is essentially being able to take a communication from a customer or a realtor or even a teammate that triggers you, and you know that you're slipping below the line and you don't want to respond in that way. You just copy their communication, you stick it in there, and it's like having Tim Braheem writing the response script for you. So this is an ongoing thing that is going to be a heavy focal point for us. We look at it as like the easy button to get from wherever you are to where you want to be in this business. Now, inside the Loan Atlas, for those of you who don't know, I'll just tell you really quickly, and then we'll go to your Q&A. We do 7 live 1-hour coaching calls every month. You're never more than just a couple of days away from your next coaching session. Over 200 training modules created around the 8 disciplines of loan origination mastery. Everything you need to know from starting in this business, scaling this business, hiring and building a team, personal development, and then moving on to legacy and freedom. All of that is inside the Atlas. And now those have all been loaded inside of our AI disciplines so that you can find that content immediately. Oh, one other thing I didn't say that I'm actually really proud of this GPT does, Tim. I don't know if you saw this yet, but at the end of this instructions, it gives you all of the modules that you need to go deeper. So all the advice it gave you came from modules and resources inside the Atlas: mastering your thoughts, words, emotions, and energy, time and presence, masterclass replays. So if you want to, you're like, yeah, this was helpful, but I really need to work on this week. Boom. Just click on those links. It'll take you right to the learning modules so you can deepen your learning around that. Scripts, presentations, and AI workflows all inside the Atlas, a very active community, and of course, the perfect loan process. As Tim says, every transaction is binary. You either build a relationship when you get referrals from that relationship, or you blow it. It's either a raving fan or someone who will never refer you, and that's what the perfect loan process is to teach us how to do. Now, I can tell you how great I think the Loan Atlas is, but the reality, where the rubber meets the road, is how do our members perform? And the facts tell us that the average originator wrote $4.8 million in production in the 12-month period prior to October 15th, 2025. The median Loan Atlas member, 12.2 million. So that's a difference of 7.4 million in production, a roughly $74,000 increase in income from people that are applying these principles in their business every day. If you want to become a member of the Loan Atlas, we'd love to have you in the Loan Atlas family. Typically, the Loan Atlas is $349 a month, and we're bundling this membership with Home Report. And the reason we've decided to do this, and MBS Highway team has been so incredibly gracious in allowing us to bundle this, is because we think the number one thing that originators should be doing in 2026 is staying in communication with past clients. As rates go down and the equity they have, there's refinance opportunities, there's HELOC opportunities, there's move up opportunities. And there's no better communication system that you can automate with your client database than Home Report. So we're bundling those two tools together. Typically, that would cost you $518, but you can have both of those tools combined for $269 a month, less than what the normal Atlas membership is, or you can prepay it for 1 year for $2,690. So if you're asking yourself, how do I make sure 2026 is exponentially better than 2025? I'd encourage you to take a look at the Atlas and especially the new GPT pool tools that we're rolling out, because I think they will fast track you to the success that you really desire. All right, Tim, I'll take my share down here, turn it over to you, and then we can get into Q&A.
Great, thank you. I'm here for your questions, and I'd appreciate if you could use the hand raising feature, just because then it highlights you and I can see you and all of that, rather than typing it into the box, which is a little bit hard to keep up with all the comments. But if you could raise your hand, no question is a silly question. Let me support you in any way that I can. And I think that I might be on a view that doesn't allow me to see everybody, even though I clicked gallery. Is that something that we can do, Diana?
We can't change it now to where our members watching can say anything, but please use the chat and Q&A. I'll see it there. And while we're waiting for you all to type your questions, I just have to say, first of all, Tim, Josh, thank you both so much for sharing everything today. I think everybody watching found it really educational and really fruitful. And for you watching, our friends, our members, our wish for you is to implement this and really see a benefit in your life. So many of you shared maybe some hardships that you have right now and how this could help you. So we're just glad that we can offer that to you and that you've taken time out of your busy day to spend it with us. And we have really great sessions with Tim, Josh, and the rest of the Loan Atlas team this year that we'll be announcing. So please join us again. But let's talk about some questions here.
So first of all, I just want to say, I'm really grateful for your comments. It really, it warms my heart and it makes me very emotional to see how impactful this topic was for many of you. I know it to be the real work. It's what I do in my Leadership 360 coaching program in depth. We are in the process of interviewing for the next group of Leadership 360. We only take 12 people annually. I'll go ahead and just hit send and put the link to the application if any of you feel called to applying to be in my coaching program. It's something that we can explore together. It's not inexpensive. It does come with a Loan Atlas membership, but it's much more expensive than the Loan Atlas. And now with that said, please ask away, and I'll hang out for another 15 or 20 minutes to help you in any way that I can.
I've got one. Oh, go ahead, Diana.
I'm just going to say we stand so behind the Loan Atlas team, the guys and gals there. They really do care so much about you and share their knowledge and their practices. And that way, again, you can implement it and really benefit yourself in life. So that's our goal for you, our wish for you. But go ahead, Josh, after you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, Diana. Yeah, so I'll just answer a tactical question and then I'll throw out a question that I saw earlier, Tim. One of the questions was, I'm already a Loan Atlas member. What if I want to have this bundle? So this was envisioned as a bundle for new members. However, if you're towards the end of your Loan Atlas membership, perhaps there could be something where we can, convert you at the end of that membership. We'll drop an email into for our customer support team, for the Loan Atlas customer support team, and feel free to send an email there, and we'll see what we can do in terms of timing to transition you onto the bundle, because I definitely think you need both of those tools. Tim, there was another question earlier that I saw, which was, where did this framework of above and below the line come from? Is there any books or any additional study? I know there's stuff in the Atlas, but is there any other resources that you can give?
Yeah, so I was taught this framework by a coach of mine over a decade ago. And my understanding was that he learned it through a coaching program of his that I'm not familiar with. So I can't really comment on that. I mean, and I have molded it, of course, to kind of be a bit more specific to the mortgage industry. But it's a framework that I don't know where it was developed, so I can't really point you in the right direction on that. What I can tell you is this, is that Josh didn't mention that in the GPT that I just recently, as of yesterday, turned over to him roughly 15 different interviews with some of the teachers that I revere the most, podcasts, YouTubes, TED Talks, that we're also transcribing and uploading into the GPT. So the GPT is drawing from that as well. I'm a junkie for this stuff. This is the stuff that's been a part of my personal life for over 20 years now. So I'm always gathering information on it all the time because I need it for me personally. And then I know how valuable it is to my clients. If we don't have a question, I want to address something that is often a question. Okay. And then I really would love to hear any questions that you have about the teaching today. So I've been asked this question numerous times, and it's an outstanding question, which is, what if I'm in an argumentative situation with somebody and I'm above the line and they're below the line? How do I get them to be above the line with me? Okay. Envision that for a minute. Your spouse, your brother, your sister, your child, etc. The answer is you don't. Because the only way that you can get them literally to be above the line with you is to go down there below the line with them and engage them and try to pull them back up. And you don't want to do that. All you can do is hold and stay above the line. And that is really, truly black belt work, right? Because when somebody's below the line, you're in a disagreement with them, they're going to trigger you. They're going to hit on wounds. They're going to be argumentative. They're going to say things that aren't very nice. And it's in those types of circumstances that one of the key words for me is compassion. Not taking it personally and seeing that that person is in struggle right now. They're suffering, quite literally. You know, the Buddha said, a couple of thousand years ago, a very famous quote of the Buddha was, being angry with someone is like having a hot stone in your hand with your arm cocked and ready to throw it at them. In the meantime, you're the one who gets burned. So anytime somebody is expressing anger, below the line, if you will, in this vernacular, I always find it to be really helpful to try to calm myself, not take it personally, breathe, move around, and remind myself, this isn't about me. This person's suffering right now. They're having a hard time. That doesn't mean that I need to be a pincushion, right? That doesn't mean that I should have no boundaries, okay? It just means that to stay above the line, you got to get curious as to what the other person's experience is, not be steeped in righteousness and not in defensiveness. And if you drop below the line with them, find yourself as quickly as you can, as Josh said before, and then rise up and hang out up there above the line. It's a much more enjoyable place to be. Okay, I'm still not seeing any questions.
Hey, Tim, can I just add one more thing to that as it relates to our interaction this last week where I jumped below the line. There were a couple of interesting lessons for me as I looked back upon that. But one of them was how you, as the leader in that dialogue, encouraged me to get back above the line because you were so above the line. Had you responded in a below the line way, I wouldn't have bounced back in 20 minutes. I would have been stuck in that separation. You would have triggered my fear even that much more. And I would have dug in to righteousness. So the point I'm making here, and then what's so powerful as a leader is not only is this important for us to be great leaders for our team, but we should expect that our team drops below the line. And if we also go below the line, then you're going to extend the amount of time that those two parties are at odds. But by remaining above the line, it was so clear for me to see, oh shit, Tim's up here and I'm down here. I got to let go of the righteousness and the separation, and I got to get back up here so quickly. So, I really appreciate the way you handled that, and it was a great leadership lesson for me.
Yeah, and I'm not perfect by any stretch of imagination. You've seen me go below the line more times than you can count. I'm certain of that. But to your point, and I'm going to answer the question from Maggie here in a second, so hang in there for 1 second, Maggie. To your point, Josh, when somebody is below the line and you're engaged with them, if you can stay above the line, you actually give them room and space to find themselves. See, if you engage with them in a combative way, they're going to dig in deeper and they're going to go further and further below the line. And it's going to turn into a shit show. I mean, this is how every war that's ever happened on the planet has ever been waged, both countries being below the line. Okay, but if you can just give some space and get curious and stay up there, that other person will have the room to then find themselves and go, oh shit, let me be collaborative here and be close to this person, which is why I like that question so much. Would you rather be right or close to this person? I mean, it's an obvious answer. I mean, it's always better to be close to somebody that you care about. Okay, so Maggie, you asked a really great question here, and I think here we go. The question about the teaching, what are some of the tools to get above the line, especially with relation to fear or not feeling good enough? Fear is a very big topic. In the Lone Atlas, I have trainings on fear. I address the topic in quite depth. I mean, you know, we all have fear. I mean, I have fear. Every one of us has fear. Again, I go back to the slide deck, Maggie. I gave you quite a few things that were shift moves to go above the line. So the first step is awareness. Okay. Oh, see, and that's why I wanted to teach you the model today. Okay. So, oh, wow, there's this thing above and below the line. So the next time it happens, you're going to remind yourself, because you have the awareness now, like, oh, wow, I'm above the line or I'm below the line right now. Okay. And then the question comes up. You want to stay there? If you want to stay there, stay there. If you want to be right, right. I'm not judging anybody for that. But when it does come to the point where you say, you know what, I'd rather actually be close to this person or collaborative, or I'd like to manage my energy in a more effective way and vibrate a little bit higher rather than being an againstness, then the shift moves are get curious, be open to possibility, be open to another person's point of view, breathe, find the breath, calm yourself, move around, expel some of the energy. Okay, so those shift moves, Maggie, is what I want you to go to. Step 1, awareness. Step 2, the decision. Do I want to stay down here or do I want to go up there? If the answer is I want to go up there, then practice those shift moves. Be open to possibility, be open to collaboration, and ask yourself the question, would I rather be right or would I rather be close to this person?
Tim, can I share just one thing about the awareness piece? Because for me, I needed some sort of a physical reminder or alert, you know, like a warning light to go off that I was about to blow up a relationship. And I realized that when I was below the line, my pulse quickened, my breath got shallow.
Yes.
I could feel the veins in my neck and my face. Like I called it hulking out. And I started to get...
You were experiencing the hormones of stress. That's why your breath got shallow and your pulse quickened, right? You're under fight or flight drugs. Keep going.
100%. And I got to a place where I realized when I started to hulk out, so I was about to cause damage. I knew that I was about to make a mistake. And as soon as I could identify that physical phenomenon in my body, I realized that if I don't start asking questions, I'm going to make a bad mistake. I'm going to hurt somebody. I'm going to do something that I'm going to regret and then have guilt for. So if you can figure out a trigger, if you can understand the framework, and then if you can tie it to a physical phenomenon or a feeling in your physical body, because mentally it's hard for me when I'm below the line to be like, oh, I'm below the line, I should just get curious. But when I anchored into the physical change in my body, my response that I taught myself was, you better ask questions, bro. Don't say anything until you've asked 4 or 5 questions, which gives you time to understand the other person's perspective, and it gives me time to calm down. And then those hormones start to dissipate, and then I can have a constructive conversation.
So a few questions in the chat here, and I want to address kind of all of them at the same time because they're in the same family. It's around unconscious beliefs that people are asking about. So the last question from Jennifer is, in the Lone Atlas membership, are those coaching calls with Tim? I do talk to Tim at the end of every month. In fact, I've talked to Tim this Friday, and I'm usually there for like 90 minutes just coaching people. Okay, so every single month you have access to me coaching you. I put out voice broadcasts all the time. I'm always creating teaching content, etc. So yes, you do get access to me and my help, and you bring these types of questions to me, and I try to answer them for you. Now, some of these topics, okay, are very personal and might be intimidating to ask in a large group format. I would encourage you to do so anyway, because everyone will benefit from your bravery, okay? And all of us are experiencing the same thing. So there's nobody that's immune to this type of stuff we're talking about, just like Josh and I are not. Unconscious, subconscious beliefs. Let's talk about that. Resources for it. Okay, so the first place that I think I've been in my Leadership 360 program. I do a lot of training and I do a lot of research around this type of topic. There is a wonderful teacher that I want to introduce everybody to right now. And I'm like super into him right now because I've probably listened to 5 interviews with him in the last week. I've known about him for a long time. His name is Dr. Gabor Mate, Gabor Mate. He is one of the great teachers out there in my mind. And he is a teacher in particular on the subject matter of trauma. Trauma is what generates a lot of these subconscious beliefs. Okay, the need for perfectionism, the need to be submissive, the belief that I'm not worthy, that my voice doesn't matter. I mean, all of these types of things. So I would foundationally direct you to Mate, M-A-T-E. There's a great one episode in particular that I really love is with him and Jay Shetty, S-H-E-T-T-Y. They're terrific together. I think it's very worth listening. The next place that I would take you is a place that I know a lot of people know about and some people struggle with. I've been actually texting some private clients this week on the topic, which is meditation. And Josh knows this because he and I have done a lot of deep meditation work together. We did a 7-day meditation retreat together. The beauty of meditation, a lot of people misunderstand what meditation is about. It's not about trying to get the mind to shut down. The beauty of meditation is that it will allow for you to sit and see your subconscious beliefs. So just try sitting as much as your body will fight it and as much as you'll be agitated and as much as you'll make up a story of all the more important things that you need to do. But just try sitting quietly for 10 or 15 minutes and watching your mind and watching the beliefs that come up. That will shine the light on some of the areas that you might want to do your work. So I would combine meditation with journaling as a part of your morning routine, okay? Which is something that I do quite frequently. I'll meditate for 30 or 45 minutes, and then I'll take out my journal, and maybe I'll journal on some of the things that came up for me, some of the thoughts, some of the repeat thought patterns, some of the feelings of unworthiness, some of the feelings of anger, whatever it is that came up for me in that meditation. That is unearthing the material to work with. And then there are trainings within the Atlas on how to work with this, and I can help you work with it as well. That would be my answer to what was about 2 or 3 questions in terms of where to get started. Yeah, Gabor Mate is the man. Like, I mean, you guys are going to love this guy. He's a terrific place to go. Any other questions?
I just dropped in that YouTube interview with Gabor and Jay. And then as a reminder, you know, the 15 or so most instructive lectures on these type of topics from the people that Tim are learning for are downloaded into that custom GPT. So you'll be getting not only Tim's wisdom and the things that I'm teaching about mindset and routines, but also the mentors that Tim's learning for educated in that GPT.
And we'll keep adding to it. I mean, I'm always uncovering really cool material, and we'll just keep adding it to make the GPT smarter, so it could be even more of a thought partner and an advisor to you.
There was one other question, Tim. I just want to hit this real quick. This is just a little confusing the way the order form was, and I saw several questions. So this looks like you have if you don't scroll down, it's not going to show you your discount. But it shows you the discount, and then when you actually get down to complete the order, it's going to be at the discounted rate. Same thing if you wanted to prepay in full, you're going to click on that. It'll show you the full price, and then when you scroll down, it'll actually register you for the discounted price. So you just have to scroll down a little bit. Sorry, that's a little confusing.
I wanted to answer one question on that a handful of people had. Do you renew at the same price? Yes, you're grandfathered in at any discounted rates. Same goes for any MBS highway, list reports, home report questions you guys have. I put both the Loan Atlas email and my email address in the chat. We'll put it again in one moment. Just reach out if you have any questions, schedule a demo. We'll, of course, help you out with whatever you need. And just to start wrapping it up here, one thing before I get to some housekeeping items, Josh, Tim, make sure you guys put a module in the custom GPT about your hair, because a lot of people ask about how you guys style your hair on these calls. So make sure that's one of them in there. I see it frequently.
Says the blonde who has pretty smoking hot hair today too.
Yeah, I got it done recently. Thank goodness. So, team, regarding the items we promised to you, the recording, the slide deck from Tim, as well as how to schedule a Loan Atlas demo, how to sign up for the different products. All of that will be in an email that you'll get this evening. So just feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions after that. But Tim, Josh, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, I just want to say, go back and watch this a few more times and also really review that slide deck. I mean, there's a lot of information in there that I think you want to memorize and you want to bring into practice, and be gentle with yourself. I mean, these are old patterns, right? Nobody ever taught us this. We would have been lucky if we would have been taught this in kindergarten, but we weren't. Okay. Right. So you are where you are right now, and going forward, just reminding yourself of this model, it can be incredibly powerful for you. And over the course of the next months and years, I think you're going to notice a big difference in the way that you show up.
The only other thing I would add to that is it's powerful to watch it again yourself. It's even more powerful to watch it again with your team. Because once you adopt this framework of above and below the line in the team, then when somebody shows up below the line, you can give them grace, and then you could just say, hey, are you feeling above or below the line? And you kind of have that permission as a team to check each other because you have a common language. So sharing it with your team and being honest and vulnerable that this is an area I'm working on, and I want to bring you alongside of me with this journey so we can both have a relationship that's based above the line or versus below the line.
Thank you so much, everybody. I'm really happy that you got some value from this today. And Diana and Dan, thank you so much for having me.
Our pleasure. And thank you guys so much for your time. We love you guys. Love what you bring to our members here, and really helps everybody, that's watching. And I'm so excited for the future sessions that we have coming up. We have some really great topics. So team, we love you. Thank you so much for joining. And of course, if you need anything, you know where to find us. So see you guys next time.
Bye everyone.
Thanks, everybody.